Hello, Brian from McKay Marine here again. Just wanted to go over a little bit of information with the Atec bottom hardness. So this is the multi-beam sounder that can do bottom hardness. So if you look here, this is in Trondheim, Norway. One pass has been made here. If I click on boxes, I can see very dense population of boxes. If I look, I'm about 30 fathoms of water. And if I measure that swath across, you can see I'm about 1/8 of a mile roughly. So pretty decent swath. So if I look, beautiful contour map. If I use the relief mode, I will be able to see a little bit of the terrain down there. And a real interesting find there. I believe Olex knew it was there, but still interesting nonetheless to be able to see an airplane wreck. So this plane wreck here, I can look at it a couple different ways, but very obvious of what it is. If I want to look at that in a 3D, put a mark on it, hit 3D, get my virtual camera. Have a look at the object. So you can see that plane there lying on the bottom. It's really interesting in the fact that you can see it's actually tilted over, sloping down on the side. And if I spin around, have a look there. And this again is with no magnification whatsoever. So I'm not manipulating the image, I'm just actually viewing it. You can see it looks like the tail's kind of broken off there, and the rest has went into the sediment. So pretty interesting view, but again, that's what you're going to see with the sharpness of this sounder. You see little holes like this down here. There's a little puck hole. If I put a little profile across that, we'll see here, profile, we can see that that's about 1 fathom deep, that hole. So that's kind of an interesting feature in the bottom. Really cool to look at. So, hardness. So if we click on hardness, we get some interesting views here. As you can see, the plane outline gave a pretty strong echo back. Click on the max and see a little more. But what's interesting here is looking at the bottom hardness of the rest of the area. So if we unclick the bottom hardness, and let's say we're just looking at the contour view, you can actually see the contours are running this way. But what's interesting is the hardness doesn't follow it exactly. And again, you have a very defined line of where that bottom hardness is changing. These areas here, if we unclick the hardness, it looks very plain, just a contour line going down, no real change in bottom type by the looks of it. But with the hardness, we actually see quite a difference there. And what you'll get on the hardness, if you look at the depth, if you can see it, we've got 35.05 fathoms, but you'll see a percentage reading, 75, 76%. 100% would be the hardest bottom, 0% is going to be the softest. But what that is, it's a backscatter measurement from the sounder, and it's just telling us the intensity of the strength of the return. So what it'll do, again, hardness is done with boxes. You can faintly see them here going across. So there's multiple measurements of hardness being taken, and it can figure out where these hardnesses values are different. So if I look at this down here, I'm in the 60 to 70% range. Yet if I come over here in the softer bottom, it's only 20 or 30. Now, 20 or 30 doesn't necessarily mean this is mud. There's a good chance that it would be, and the same as a good chance that this is rock. But what it's telling me is that this bottom here is definitely a lot softer than this bottom here. This is much harder. And as you get to use it more, and you use your percentage values, you tend to, with some common ground that you know, it helps you classify what the bottom is like in other areas. Now the other feature you have in this, which is pretty cool, is I can come into a bottom type like this. I can zoom way in so it fills my whole screen, and then I can go to hardness again and say I want to separate it again. So it's all red here now, but I want to see what areas are harder, what areas are softer. So if I click that again, I can see that this area here is still even harder than this. Even though I'm at the 67, 70% range over here, I'm in the 80 to 90% range over here. So that tells me this is very hard bottom over here. But again, if I zoom out, you'll see everything else is purple, which it should be because it's much softer. But you can really see those varying lines of where the bottom's changing. And from my experience, that's what most people are telling me they want to know. Where does the, not necessarily what is rock, but where is hard bottom changing into softer bottom? Where are those boundary lines? That type of thing. So you can look at that, and you can look at that again in like a 3D view. Again, it's all how you want to use the system. There's no two people that use the system the same way that I know of, but there's a lot of different ways. So, and again, this is just naked eye, no magnification. If I want to play some exaggeration, I can use exaggeration on the bottom. Again, it gets a little bit crazy in certain areas. With something this high resolution, you don't have to do a lot of exaggeration, but you can definitely see the detail of the bottom and hardness that kind of goes against the grain, so to speak. So anyway, so that is a little bit on the Atec bottom hardness and our trusty airplane here laying on the bottom.